awesome meetup. It's great to see heaps of people here and such a vibrant community. Well done. It's awesome. So this is a cut-down version of a presentation I did once before at a UX meetup. And the background to this presentation was I got invited to speak by a guy that I worked with at Medibank many moons ago, who came into a team that I was leading as a late entrant. And he was a UXer and I was the lead BA in the team. And frankly, the project didn't need a whole lot of UX at that point. We were implementing an out-of-the-box product. He walked into the team and he was under guidance from his functional manager, the UX manager, to build a bunch of wireframes. And I was a complete jerk to him because I didn't see the value of it. In fact, there wasn't a whole lot of value to the activity that he was trying to do. But there was a whole bunch of other stuff that if we had sat down together and kind of worked out how to divide the work up and how to work more effectively as a team, we could have got to where the relationship got to a lot quicker than the way it started out. So I kind of did this presentation for him, but I'll share the experience with you guys as well. Thanks, Florian. Dr. Dunk, I think was his nickname on that project. We all had 70s basketball nicknames. It was awesome. So just a quick introduction to elaborate. I'm one of the founders, also head up our business advisory practice. Look, our purpose keeps evolving, but basically what I'm seeing in the world at the moment is the increased kind of growth of these global conglomerate organisations that seem to do everything. If you look at Google, like Google controls a whole lot of the picture internationally. Amazon controls a whole lot of the picture internationally. They're taking a lot of market share out of economies like ours, and they're doing it very, very effectively. Those guys have very small local presences. They have complex taxation structures. They're not contributing to the local community, to the growth of the local people, and to the infrastructure of our nation as the organisations that are locally based in our kind of protected little girt by sea country that we have. And I think unless we start to build cultures, working cultures and working environments and companies that can compete with those global conglomerates through culture and learning alone, we run the risk in 30 or 40 years of starting to lose a lot of the things that we have grown to enjoy as Australians. So I see our company's role as helping to build great cultures based on what we're learning in agile and through other complexity theory and some other sciences that are quite interesting. Like that's the sort of thing I think you guys should really think about as well. How can you start to take some of the great working practices from elsewhere and really drive that locally? All right, so once upon a time in software development, there was programmers. And that was kind of it. There was someone pumping, I think it was punch cards into machines and hoping that the order of the punch cards was right, because sometimes the punch cards got spat out all over the floor and had to be reorganised to run a routine. Over time, we had this rise of specialisation, and I couldn't even put all the roles in technology into a box that you guys could read nowadays. You've got specialisation in business analysis, in user experience, in software development, in infrastructure, in project management. There's a whole bunch of specialisation. And what that has meant is, look, at the end of the day, it's frustration. It's customer frustration. It's stakeholder frustration. You basically, to get anything done in a highly specialised environment where people are just working in their specialty, you've got to orchestrate work through a whole bunch of individual functional backlogs. So that gave rise to the project manager. That gave rise to the person who was really effective at orchestrating through those deeply prioritised backlogs. That gave rise to this concept that in a large organisation with a whole bunch of specialisation, work can only move as fast as the slowest component. So if you think about it as a value stream, if you've got a queue function where people are building the integration piece and that queue function is overloaded, it doesn't matter how much work you're doing before you get to that point in the value stream. Things will only ever run as fast as that slowest component. Frustrated customers, more project management, more overhead, more orchestration. Things got pretty messy. So we get Agile. Agile's great. I've chucked the Scrum method up here. I don't expect you to be able to read that down there, but one of the really interesting things about Scrum, and I think the thing that Scrum did that really started to break down that concept of specialisation, is this idea that if you're a developer in Scrum, or if you're in a Scrum team, you are a developer. You're not an infrastructure specialist. You're not a lead business analyst. You're not the UX designer. You're a member of a Scrum team as a developer. And that really simple premise starts to break down the idea that all you can do is your specific specialisation. So we move from this idea of component teams where we've got organisation around components. We've got specialists in all the different functional areas that build a certain component of the system. And then we've got the components teams working on like the middleware or the front end or the database. To this idea where we've got teams of people who can actually pick something off a product backlog, a useful piece of value for a customer, and finish it. This is evolutionary for people who've been in enterprise software for the last 20 years. We had this whole kind of system built up that was completely at odds with that. Absolutely revolutionary idea. This idea that we bring the work to the teams rather than we bring the teams to the work. It's great though. Like it starts to take away a lot of that orchestration overhead. A lot of the stuff that you needed to do in order to get work through the system is gone. And you can actually focus on the important stuff again, which is building products. But what you're going to find, I don't know if all of you have worked in Agile, I won't get a show of hands, but when you join a cross-functional team, something's not going to feel right. And this comes back to my experience with Florian. We were working on stuff. We both had our specialties, but he'd done a fair bit of BA stuff, and look, I'd done the whole kit and caboodle working in small agencies where you kind of All right, well, I hope that was an interesting conversation. The reason I got you to do that is because a more structured version of that conversation is a really effective way to start things off when you're either setting up a new team or when you have a new team member joining the team. Have a really good conversation about, first of all, what you're all good at. First of all, what are all the different things you have to do? Second, what the things that you're actually good at are within the team. But thirdly, what are some things that you might want to learn as individuals? And if you can kind of visualize that, here's all the stuff we have to do, here's the people that can do the stuff, and here's the stuff that people want to learn. And you can start to go, all right, well, if I'm picking up this task and it might be a learning opportunity for this person who wants to learn that, well, it's a great opportunity to pair on something or do something cool and get to that high-performing team model quicker. All right, thanks for that. Yeah, I'll be around if you want to ask any questions later.